Hear the tone. The time will be 9:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm Oscar Rios, and you're listening to Legends of Tabletop.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Legends of Tabletop podcast. I have, as you have heard, Oscar Rios again to talk about a brand new Kickstarter for the Lovecraft Country Holiday Collection. Oscar, how you doing?
I am doing good. We funded in the
For
first
second day.
Second day, first weekend. We went live like Thursday at midnight. Before Sunday, we were funded. So that was like, okay, 70% of the stress is gone. That 30% is going to stretch out. So it's going to be, but projects happening. That's the main thing. Now it's all, how cool is it going to be? Like, how much more are we going to add on? We have a lot of plans for that, but we can get to that.
Yep, absolutely. Now, is this the quickest funded Kickstarter that you guys have had so far?
I have to check, but I don't think so. We did Cold Warning, which was supposed to be one scenario. It was a 2-week Kickstarter, and it was a very low amount. And Cold Warning seemed like it funded in less than a day.
Okay.
And then that whole Kickstarter turned into 3 books. It turned into Riot at Red Plank and then Riding the Northbound. So it became like a 3-book Kickstarter set. But
right.
I think it was a 7,000 budget, 7-day Kickstarter. It was over pretty quickly.
Yeah, I forgot you did the quick starter like that.
Yeah, I wish they had done that again. That seemed really interesting, like that whole, 1-week Kickstarter. Like, I would definitely jump on another one of those, especially with some of the scenarios that we didn't get to on other Kickstarters, like the unreached stretch goals.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who are dying for some of those. We teased them and talked all about them, and we didn't get them. And then we're like, whatever happened to that great scenario that Scott was going to write about the secret council outing gay students, and I'm like, we didn't make the stretch goal, people. Scott's not gonna write for free.
That quick starter thing seems really key, like especially for RPGs, for like a scenario based.
Right. For like one, a small thing or a single, like those, that it was a one long adventure, like 2 nights of play, that kind of stuff. It worked really well, I thought.
Right. Yeah, we missed you. So intentionally, we didn't have you on the Necronomicon wrap up because we knew that you're going to be coming on for this. How was your Necronomicon experience?
Exhausting, but so rewarding. I ran 3 amazing games. I was on a couple of panels that went very well, but really, I think that just seeing all of the people in the community, it's like you couldn't throw a dead cat within a square mile of the Biltmore and not see 5 people you knew on the street, from
right.
our community, and people from Europe and Asia and all across America and Canada and pretty much every, this is, I think I coined the phrase a few days ago, Cthulhu Palooza.
Nice.
This is our Cthulhu Palooza. This is where our community gathers every 2 years to just say, hey, what's up, to all of our fellow creators. And it's, fiction and gaming and podcasting and films and live performances and artists and sculptors. And it's just all of us. We're all there. And we're all having a great time, And you really get to connect with the fans too, which is great, like you forget that you're a little bit nerd famous.
Right.
And then people come up and like, hey, sign this. And you're like, oh wait, I wrote that, and it's like it's really cool. And, to hear their feedback about how much they like something or they're looking forward to something, or even, the occasional criticism that you listen to and say, hey, you know what, that's a point of view that maybe I wasn't aware of. So really to have that give the fans that time and access is pretty sweet,
Yeah, and it's a huge family thing, like we talked about it. I mean, that's what it feels like, right? Because so many people from just being online. Like it was crazy for me because we're out to eat, and I'm sitting there with Pete, and Scott was coming out, and he was like, I've never met Oscar. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? That's what I messaged you. I'm like, where are you? Because I had to send Pete over. Like, what the fuck?
I was in the middle of a pastrami sandwich when he showed up. And I'm like, sure, I've got a few minutes, dude. And he's written for me. He's been in like 3 or 4 books for my company. Just never, those fiction and RPG circles don't overlap. That we're working on that. We've had a few dual book fiction RPG sets. Like our Cat Kickstarter was a fiction RPG, and hopefully that'll be going to the printer soon. A couple of our Cthulhu Invictus had a fiction companion. The last one, Inner Darkness, had a fiction companion. The one we're running now is a 2-book Kickstarter with a RPG and a fiction book. I've said it before. I'm a kid of the 80s. I loved playing D&D and then picking up the Dragonlance books and the Harper series, and shout out to Chris Loader. Now, old school, D&D author now working for Chaosium.
Right. It's cool. And because you can, like, there's so much information you can pack into a scenario with, background stuff and box text and all that sort of stuff. But then, when you get the fiction companion, you really get to kind of delve in and kind of explore those themes a little bit more, especially something like Inner Darkness, where you have a scenario and it plays however it plays, as light or as dark as someone wants to. But then, when you get to really explore that fiction, it gives you a whole other aspect.
Right.
Which is pretty cool.
I think in the current one, the Lovecraft Country Holiday Collection, we're blurring that line like never before. The key to these are the 6 Lovecraft Country cousins. It's 6 pre-generated investigators who are all cousins, all between 11 and 13. 2 from Arkham, 2 from Dunwich, 1 from Kingsport, 1 from Innsmouth. And they get together at the holidays and they have adventures. So we've had the 2 scenarios that are written from the old monograph series are Halloween in Dunwich and Christmas in Kingsport. So our fiction companion is 6 short stories centered on one of the NPCs as a character in the story and located in the town, in the city or the town or whatever that they live. So you'll get you'll get a George Wheaton story set in Arkham and an Alice Saunders story set in Innsmouth. And the fiction people loved it. They were like, in a way, it was like giving them a head start. It's like, here's your setting, here's your character, here's everything that's been written about this character. Go. Right. And they were, and so those stories, I think, out of the 6, 4 of them are already in house and 2 we're waiting for. But that book came together really, really quick, which is another reason I'm glad we funded really well, because everybody had already worked. That book was almost written, and I'm like, oh, if this isn't fun, it's going to be ugly.
And you've got Pete working on that one as well.
Oh, he was the first one to turn his work in.
Mm-hmm. That's not a surprise.
For me, who's labeled as being quite prolific, he puts me to shame. He gets his stuff done. Turned in, moves on to the next one. So God bless him for that. He's what every editor, every publisher and editor likes,
That's cool. And then so the monographs they're available on PDF still, but this will be like the only print for 7th edition then.
Okay. First off, if you haven't played them yet, wait for this new book. Not to take away sales from Chaosium, but I wrote those a long time ago. Kind of like you were young and needed the money. So they could be better. They're not bad. They're better than a lot of my early stuff. But these are going to be much longer. Much improved, and everything's going to be updated for 7th edition. So, and those are written in like, I don't know, maybe 6.2, or I mean, those are old books.
Yeah.
And this is going to have all new art, all new maps, lots of more details. Like I'm actually in the process of rewriting the Dunwich one, and the location in the book is the hills of Dunwich. I'm like, oh yeah, that's not gonna fly. So I got, I reached, I pulled out this bad boy,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, we need an address. We need to know which hill, where is this farm located? So, now we have that level of detail. Like we know where the farm is, we know who the nearest neighbors are, the general topography of the area. Hey, Max.
Yeah, with StreamYard now, you guys can all see the comments.
Yeah.
Before I'd have the laptop open, the desktop open, going back and forth. And StreamYard is nice because everything just kind of pops up now.
Yeah, it's very nice, very professional.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's I'm already rewriting Halloween in Dunwich. I'm going to move on to Christmas in Kingsport after that, and then knock on wood, hopefully start writing the 2 stretch goal scenarios that we're hoping to unlock, which will be Easter in Arkham and Innsmouth Independence Day.
No, are those completely new, or is that stuff that you've kind of?
I've never written them down, and I've never run them. I've been thinking about them for over a decade. I always had envisioned since I wrote Christmas in Kingsport after Halloween in Dunwich that, well, if I've got Halloween and if I've got the 2, you're going to do the solstice and the equinox. You're going to do those, you're going to do those 4. So if I've done 1 solstice and 1 equinox, I've got to do the other 2. And these are the tent pole holidays of the year. Everybody was like, I did a live, everybody in the comments was at, oh, what about Arbor Day? What about Valentine's Day? I'm like, you're not getting that we're going for the, those nights when the veil's thin, the longest night of the year, the shortest day of the year, the day when everything's equal. Those are like, I guess they've been magical, mystical times of the year going back, to the dawn of mankind. Valentine's Day is not cutting it. Arbor Day. No, we're not doing an Arbor Day.
So Max wants to know, are you going to set the years for the scenarios? Are they specifically like 1922, 23? Or is that just like we're still in the 20s, generally speaking?
It's going to be a little bit wiggly. There will be a year set, but please allow a little wiggle. Because especially with the fiction book, we're tying in other characters. So some of the dates may not match up exactly, but we're so we're going to be a little loose. For example, in the Kingsport story, there's an appearance by Asenath Waite. Because in the mythology, Asenath Waite spends a little time in Kingsport before she moves to Arkham. In the Dunwich story, one of the 2 Dunwich stories that the ones that's already turned in, you encounter a young Wilbur Whately before the night of the Dunwich Horror. When he's just, a few years before that happens. And my character and my story, of course, takes place in Innsmouth before the Innsmouth raid. And Zadok Allen appears in mine. So very briefly. But it's a nice little gimmick we're doing. So we're not putting a pin in the calendar. That way people can kind of run them whenever they want them to, or, in whatever order they want them to.
Okay. That's cool. Max said he ran them out of order, so.
Well, it was just the next Halloween then, they don't have to be, you can run these over like a 2-year period. I don't think any of the kids, their stats won't change until they hit 15. So you're fine.
Right.
Oh, that was really cool. I had to extrapolate backwards to come up with the formula for making 11 to 14. Because the 7th edition starts, the minimum age for a character is 15. So I just followed the progression and extrapolated back. Because once upon a time, they actually taught me to do that in school. It's one of the few pieces of math I actually remembered. And it came in handy this one time.
Nice. Now you got the first stretch goal is already unlocked, which is going to be bonus art and more maps. So that's cool.
Yeah, we always like doing that. Who doesn't like art? It's just a joy as a publisher and an author to commission a piece of art and then just wait. It's like Christmas every time you open up a new sketch or a new final piece of art. And we're the first ones to see it. No, Max, figure it out yourself. Max is asking, am I going to put the rules for making you? Yes, I can do a box text, and that's fine. What the hell was I talking about? Stop doing that, Max. Jesus, where was I?
We were talking about extrapolating the things back, and then we were talking about new art.
New art. Love getting the new art. So this will allow us to commission more of it. And if not more of it, like maybe instead of doing this as a half page, we do it as a full page. Or if there's some really cool period photos that we've got to pay a licensing fee because they're copyrighted, we can pay the licensing fee and put it into the book. It gives the designer more of a budget, a discretionary budget now. Okay. And, instead of breaking, having one map with a blowout, maybe it'll be 2 maps. So it just gives us a little bit of more of a budget for that.
Now, is there a potential to have more short stories added to the collection, or no?
No, because there are only 6 kids.
Oh,
The theme was each child in each location. But there is stretch goal 2, which we're at this very moment only $100 away from funding. At this moment, that will go to adding a half-page title art to every short story. So every short story will get a piece of art that'll be prominent on the title page of that short story, which we've done. We've done in the cat book, Tales of Terror with an I, and Heroes of Red Hook has title page art as well. So it's fun. I've always enjoyed pictures with my with my stories.
Well, it makes the stories pop a little bit more. It's almost like getting a plate. You flip it open and there's the art, and then start the story. That's right. Cool.
And as an author, I can tell you, we totally nerd out when we see an illustration of one of our of a scene that we wrote. When you see it illustrated, the RPGs nerd out, but the fiction people don't get that as much, so they really enjoy it. So it's fun for us, and I think great. A lot of fun for the consumers, the people who are picking this up. It's a little something extra.
No, definitely. Now, what's I know with Kickstarter, a lot of times you can't start a project before something is finished. So what is the state of all the other projects at Golden Goblin Press?
We did a big push in the spring, and we cleaned up and closed a lot of our Kickstarters that we just delivered the last little bits. The only Kickstarter that is overdue is the cat book, and we are struggling desperately to get that into layout and into the printer. The manuscript's currently with proofreaders. It's in mid stages of layout. We've had a bunch of delays on there, but we're pushing hard to get that out. Lisa and I are working on the very last stretch goal for Cthulhu Invictus. We hope to have that out in October. And then those 2 Kickstarters will be done. That will digitally release the Tales of Terror and Valor, the RPG. And once those come back from the printer, we'll mail them out. We've already got the fiction book in-house, so we're just waiting for the RPG book to be done. And once those are out, then Inner Darkness hits the top burner, and we get all hands on that one. And that one's not going to be due until for several months. But the book's written, it is edited, and we have sketch art approved for 3 of the 6 scenarios. We can start maps anytime. I'm just nervous about putting one more ball up in the air, of keeping track of, so many little aspects of little projects. So Inner Darkness isn't getting the love I wish we could give it. There just aren't enough of us doing certain things to be able to work on that while we're working on these other 2. But once those other 2 are, out the door, Inner Darkness will be the only thing outstanding. And the fiction book is already done. I think we may have already even released the PDF on that. I'm not 100% sure, but
I didn't see anything come through. But
well, that book's written. That book is written and edited and all of that. So no, I don't think we've done the. Anyway, I'd have to check. Doesn't matter. So yeah, that's where we are. We didn't have anything too terribly late.
Keep going. I'm just throwing stuff up. You don't lose your train of thought.
Too late. So yeah, I've got no idea what I was saying. It's so distracting.
All hands on Inner Darkness.
Oh yeah,
you get the other stuff out the door.
So, once the cat book is out, cat book is top priority right now. Side priority is the investigator, 21 pre-generated investigators for Cthulhu Invictus. And the reason we're able to work on both of those is because the same people aren't working on the same thing,
Right.
So I can split kind of that team up. So once those 2 are done, everyone will be free to dive on top of Inner Darkness. And I'm actually going to be trying to recruit a few new people for a few new slots on the team, just so if someone's bogged down, we have a backup person. So we won't run into these kinds of, well, this project's not getting the love it needs because the people we need are working on that one, which we've done. We've done once before. We've been able to double up. Like now we have 3 editors working with us. Now we have 3 artists working with us. We have a new cartographer and another cartographer that may work with the Invictus projects, because she is the biggest Cthulhu Invictus fan out there other than me.
Nice.
And she's a cartographer. So we're probably going to be working. I don't want to name names, but she'll probably be working with us on the Britannia and Beyond book next year, doing our maps for that.
Very cool. I mean, I think I would like to think anyway, people who are, consumers of RPG stuff understand that, once summer hits, convention season starts, and, even though maybe a Kickstarter, ended in February or it ended in November last year, that, like that stuff still blocks up a certain amount of time for the year when you hit, August and September and, maybe part of July, that takes up a certain amount of time and resources.
Right. This has been my busiest con season ever. I have not been to Gen Con in at least 10 years. I went this year.
Well, you had to go this year.
I had to go. Well, I didn't have to go, but I was going. Yeah, that was a really great trip. Hard trip, because I am not as young or as in shape as I need to be for that level of convention. But, we did win the Ennie. So that was like what nerd doesn't dream of winning an Ennie? You write your first scenario on a piece of graph paper in a coffee shop, and you're like, one day. So yeah, I had to go. Dude, I sat on a bus for 8 hours to go to Cleveland to meet Jeff to drive 4.5 more hours to get to Indianapolis. And Jeff's like, poor Oscar. He sat in a car with someone with Tourette's for 4 hours. I didn't even notice. We did carpool. We did carpool karaoke. We, chewed the fat the entire way. It was like just any two nerds on a road trip. But no, I bled to go to Gen Con, and it was worth it. Definitely worth it. And then I did before that I did Kineticon, because I always do Kineticon.
Yep.
My daughter would literally burn this house down if I did not take her there. It is her favorite con of the year. She's an avid cosplayer. She did her first panel. My 16-year-old daughter did her first panel and sold out the room. The room was packed. I was so proud.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Second proudest nerd moment in my 2019 was my daughter selling out her anime cooking. It was an anime cooking. It was awesome. And then pretty much came back, turned around, caught my breath, unpacked, washed my clothes, packed, and went to Necronomicon.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm not even done. I've got one November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Carnage in Vermont, which I absolutely love going to. And then my con year will be done. But,
right. At least
you can't work on a project while you're at the con.
Yeah.
You can promote, and a lot of you probably picked up some of these cards at those cons, because oh boy, did I leave them everywhere.
Yeah. Oh no, you have to. I mean, that's and you tweet a little bit more now, so that's good too for as much as people pay attention.
I'm trying to be better about that. For those of you who are saying, why don't I have an Instagram? Look, I can barely keep up with. Remember, I barely remember we have a Twitter. Okay, we're doing our best.
Well, you almost need to hire somebody for that. I mean, it's such like I have dual for everything. So my Facebook and the Facebook page, my Instagram and the Instagram for it gets crazy after a while. There's only so much you can devote to that.
Right.
And there's only so much that people pay attention. People just want to be offended on Twitter. So if you're like, hey, I'm doing this cool thing, either people are like, that's cool, and then like they don't say anything, or then they get offended and they're like, blah.
Oh, I don't even want to say anything. I'm going to say it. I'm going to knock on wood. My table's wood. I have not gotten into a flame war on Twitter yet.
You're not trying hard enough.
Well, because I just use it for marketing. I just talk about the projects and I preview some art, and I try not to make statements on Twitter. On the company page, I try not to make statements, which is ridiculous because a lot of our projects are in fact statements.
In and of themselves, yeah.
You don't put out a book called Heroes of Red Hook without making a political statement. But even on my personal Facebook, I try, but it's not,
Well,
that I'm willing to fight you about. That's my personal Facebook stuff. So,
and it's not really worth it, right? Like you could. The most surreal thing for me at Necronomicon, we're out at the facade, and Big Nazo's coming on. They're like jumping around and waving their tentacles all around and shit, and they've got the music like pumping in the background. And I'm sitting there with James Lauder and another guy from England. I don't remember what his name was. It might have been Andy. I can't remember. Anyway, we're like in this deep political philosophical discussion with all this weirdness going on around us. Well, like you can't do that on Twitter or Facebook, right? Like we're face to face and we can agree to disagree, or we can agree and agree or whatever. But like it's a different thing when you're with someone and you can actually have a conversation and look at somebody in the eye and go, okay, I understand what you're saying, or yes, I completely agree with what you're saying. I can't believe that guy, whatever, it's just, social media is a nightmare for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'm actually doing a lot better keeping it compartmentalized, especially when you're writing and you're managing projects and you're assigning art. You want to keep your head in a nice positive place because, your fans deserve your best work. And if you're phoning it in because you're just grinding up inside with anger over something on Twitter, they're not getting your best. You're just punishing yourself. So, I try and stay very stoic, very zen, like, worry about what you can control. You know how you meant it. You know where your heart is. And if people want to disagree, that's fine. Disagree. But I'm not going to let, all of that turmoil out on the internet bring me down when I've got so many positive things that I'm working on.
Right.
And that's not easy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it can be difficult. It was funny when I met Glancy at the room party, and hey, you want to come on the show and this and that, and he's like, well, you can send me a Facebook request, but just remember, just because you like the art doesn't mean you're gonna like the man behind it. And I'm like, that's fine, whatever, I don't care. He gives a little disclaimer when he's like, send me a Facebook invite, but just be prepared.
That is funny.
Oh man. So what else you got going on? What's happening?
Oh, so yeah, I just want to say a couple of really cool things about the project before we move on to the next one.
Sure.
Again, we've got this one backer level called Best Friends Forever, where you actually I'll design a character with you, and it'll be an additional playable character where you're one of the cousin's best friends.
Oh, somebody jumped on that already, I think.
Three people have. Three people have. So Alice and Gertie have best friends, and their characters are kind of conceptualized, and we've got art for one already. I threw it up today. We're waiting to design the character with the third one. So 3 of those are gone already, but which will be fun because now the characters, God forbid one of the cousins dies, you've got some best friends that can step in. So I hope nobody's killing 11-year-old investigators, but once you sell the book, it's do it. It's not my. It's your book. After that, I try and not have them be lethal because they're kids, but they're kids growing up in Lovecraft Country, so they're, I guess, a little tougher than kids in other towns. So that's the one cool thing. We've got 2 additional scenarios, and got one stretch goal that we're going to have the adult versions of the characters, and another one where you get the pulp adult versions of the characters. We're going to do a pulp Cthulhu version of them.
That's pretty cool.
So if you guys like playing them as kids, you can bust them all out like 10 years later in the 30s and go punch some Nazis in a Zeppelin. Right. Or, in your drill going to the center of the earth, whatever. So yeah, we're doing well. Like, what else do I have going on?
Well, I'll just say before you do that, I mean, it says on the Kickstarter page, like the scenarios are designed to be less lethal than like a typical Call of Cthulhu scenario where it's more of a investigative and trying to figure things out than
puzzle solving.
Yeah.
The kids they're going to get scratched up. A lot of there are I mean, there's a cornfield that's pretty creepy and dangerous that the kids end up crossing on Halloween night. There's some living corn and scarecrow thing, so the kids are not gonna they're not gonna come through this unscathed. I'm not planning pools of blood, dead children levels. And the Christmas one, usually there's no combat. It's very rare that any combat happens in the Christmas one. The Christmas one pretty much is a fun mystery that the kids literally get dragged into. And if they can figure out what's going on, they can literally, successfully solve the investigation and get the Christmas miracle ending without ever rolling a dice in anger, without ever rolling a combat dice. Most groups won't do that. Even as children, a lot of players are going to treat them as murder hobo children, and they're going to be like, let's burn it all. But again, after you sell the book.
Yeah. Well, players got to play.
I'm going to I think the danger level may ramp up for the 2 new ones. Easter and Arkham, it involves pets coming back from the dead over Easter break.
Okay.
I mean, it's Easter. It's Arkham. Resurrection. Little bit of Pet Cemetery. A little bit of Stranger Things, because, hey, Stranger Things is Call of Cthulhu with children. And what I'm most excited about is I did the research. Bicycles started to be marketed towards children in the 19 teens. So by the 20s, a kids on bikes scenario is historically accurate. So Arkham will be written specifically as a kids on bikes Call of Cthulhu in Arkham.
Nice.
Which again, I was like, please, let's make this stretch goal. I really want to write this one. And the other one is set in Innsmouth. And if you think you're going into a scenario in Innsmouth and not getting into some kind of a deadly situation, well, then you're not really up on the mythology now, are you? Because even Alice, who lives in Innsmouth can be a dangerous place.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And that one's fun. The kids are going to be trying to break into Great Grandma Saunders' abandoned mansion to look for genealogy records, no less. Because for some reason, Alice's family doesn't want to let her have her genealogy records.
Weird.
Right. Alice is trying to join the Daughters of the American Revolution. And she's been told that there were lots of colonial pirates in her bloodline. So if she can prove that some of her ancestors fought in the American Revolution, she can join this very prestigious, group.
Right.
So yeah, it's going to be a group of kids breaking into an abandoned mansion in Innsmouth after they snuck away from a New England clam bake.
Nice.
Right off Devil's Reef.
That's cool.
Yeah, that one. I'm really, really hoping we make both of those stretch goals. And in a way, it's like if we don't, it's not as bad as if it was somebody else writing it. Because then you're like, oh, I'm sorry, dude. It's not going to fun. You're not going to write it. It's me,
Right.
But it's still going to sting because I still want to really write it. And I may write it one day, but I'm not publishing it. Yeah. So share this on social media so everyone can enjoy these adventures.
Right.
And, I've been thinking about writing them for 10 years. So if we don't fund, I may not get around to writing them for another 10 years. Knock on wood that I'm around in 2029.
We can always play test those.
Yeah. But this way, I'll have to write them and put them out.
Absolutely. Did you watch, speaking of Stranger Things, did you watch this last season?
Oh yes, most definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of people were disappointed. I did like the 3 separate storylines, no spoilers. I loved that their Mary Sue wasn't their Mary Sue anymore, no spoilers. Loved the new characters, except the complaining one. No spoilers. And again, big fan. I've always been a big fan of the show.
Yeah, I was surprised this year, to say the least.
Just Justin with his imaginary girlfriend.
Yeah.
From science camp is every nerd kid I was and knew and hung out with.
Right.
In the 80s.
We're killing Max. Max hasn't watched it yet.
Oh. I'm not listening to any spoilers. I have not.
Yeah. No, it was good. I enjoyed it. I'm glad to see it's coming back for a fourth season.
Yeah, and that's going to be it, they said. Which is fine, because I don't want to see these kids in the grunge era.
Yeah, right.
Nobody wants to see that. You know what? They're all dirty and
Lots of flannel.
dreadlocks and flannel. Nobody needs to see Stranger Things in the 90s. Twilight Zone in the 90s, sure, but not Stranger Things.
Yeah. So did you check out the Dark Crystal yet on Netflix or no?
First episode, have not gotten back to it. Because
go ahead.
We started watching it as a family, and some of us fell asleep. So now we're trying to watch it as a family. But one of my kids doesn't live with me anymore, so he's here like every couple of weeks.
Right.
So yeah, we're definitely big. Oh my God, we're huge Dark Crystal fans. We probably watch the Dark Crystal as a family once every other year. It's like one of our, we can quote it ridiculously.
I haven't watched it in a while. Of course, we're similar in age. Grew up with that. It was, amazing when it came out. So I was sitting the other night and I put it on. I started going through it and I watched like the first 15 minutes and I turned it off. And I'm like, maybe tonight's not the right night. I got to go back to it and try it again because it didn't like visually it was cool. And I was just like, this is not grabbing me the way that I think that it would.
It's going to be a slow build.
Yeah.
I saw the first episode. It took a while to really grab. And it doesn't really start to grab till the end. I can see that they're doing this. They're writing this as a series. So if you go in expecting the Dark Crystal, which was immediately a lot of stuff happens, I was thinking, oh my God, a lot. And again, I was like, well, this is a little slow, which is probably why some of us fell asleep. But yeah, no, I'm definitely planning to go back and watch it.
Okay. I'll definitely have to give it another go around. I certainly want to. I mean, visually, like I said, it looks stunning. And from all accounts, it's really good. So
hey, I'll watch anything with Chamberlain in it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was waiting for that.
Oh, yeah.
You only got like a little bit in the first, as
I hate your whipper. Yes. Like I said, we're big Dark Crystal fans in this house.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. All right. Shit, I don't.
So yes, we will be getting a map of Uncle Silas's farm and the farmhouse.
Nice.
You'll be. I without giving away spoilers, I don't know how many maps are going to be in the Kingsport portion. Because a lot of that, the kids are just wandering the streets of Kingsport. And the other places, are unmappable. Not to give any spoilers. Yeah, Arkham's definitely going to have some maps. And the Innsmouth one that's probably going to be a 2-page map of the haunted Innsmouth mansion.
Oh, very cool. That's nice. And when do you expect to deliver on this one? I had the Kickstarter page up here.
I have it too. Where is
June next year?
Yes. Because again, we're really hoping that it's going to be 4 scenarios, and 2 of them are not written, and the other 2 need to be rewritten. And even at my best, it's going to take me about 6 weeks to, from soup to nuts to really crank out a decent size scenario. I can do one quicker, but it's not for this level,
Sure.
So just writing, it'll be a couple of months to get at least, 2.5, 3 months of writing to get those 2 scenarios done to the level I want them to be. And then, it takes longer to edit a 4 scenario book and, all of that.
Right.
What about the house in Christmassy? Probably, but the kids really aren't allowed to explore the house in Kingsport because it's stuffy. Their stuffy great aunt's house, great aunt Norma, I believe. Remember that she's of the generation that kids are supposed to be seen and not heard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not giving away any spoilers.
Well, these have been around for a while. I guess not everybody's played them, right?
But again, they're going to be different. There's a lot more going on now. I'm expanding them by already the Kingsport one is already probably about 2,000 words longer. And the kids haven't even gotten to the hayride yet. They've literally just got to the farm.
Cool. Shit, I don't have anything.
The Ides of Octobernomicon.
Oh, yeah. There you go. So Shoggoth.net does their Octobernomicon.
Right. And so we're big. I'm huge friends with Matt, have been for years. So I always like to support Octobernomicon. Shoggoth.net is one of those sites where I was a fanboy, downloading free monsters before I was even writing. So to actually have stuff on Shoggoth.net now is pretty, it's pretty much a full circle nerd moment for me. So yeah, every October they do Octobernomicon, which is a free monster every day. And I try and contribute. So this year I found out he was a little bit short and I wrote some other monsters. And it turned out I had written a lot of Cthulhu Invictus monsters for it. And Jeff had written a big Cthulhu Invictus monster thing. I can't even get it. It's supposed to be very detailed. I haven't read it yet. But it turned out we had 7 new Cthulhu Invictus entries. So I asked if we could do them as one full week. Like a week of Cthulhu Invictus monsters for Octobernomicon. And he goes, cool, which week? And I'm like, well, the week that has the 15th in it, because then we could call it the Ides of Octobernomicon. So yeah, we will be doing the Ides of Octobernomicon with 7 new Cthulhu Invictus creatures. One of them people may have seen already. It's I'm going to get this wrong. The Nemean Lion, the Nemean Lion that we had as a free giveaway on our website a few months back. All the other ones are brand new. And for those who listen to Miskatonic University podcast, where I do my glimpses in the Empire, yes, I have statted out the flying serpents of Arabia and the man-eating ants of India.
That's awesome. And those segments are amazing. So like the podcasting part is new for you, but you've like really picked it up. You've got the sound effects going, the music in the background, like they're tight.
That's all Chad. For a long time, Chad was doing all of my editing and my sound effects. And there was a finite limit on his kindness for helping me with this. So for season 3, he was like, look, the help I'm going to give you is teaching you how to do this. I will be here to help you, but you've got to start learning how to mix and cut and insert sound effects. And I'm not that good at it yet, but it's a lot of fun. You can really be goofy. So for most of season 3, I've done the editing and the sound effects for them.
Yeah. I mean, there's no drop off from Chad doing it. They sound really good.
Well, thanks. We're almost done. I recorded the 5th one, and I've got one more to do, and that'll be it. That'll be season 3, and I'll take about 3 or 4 months off. I try and do one, every other season. I was late this year. I was supposed to do spring, and it was late summer before I started doing them. We were trying to push so many things out the door.
Right.
There's only so much, you can spread that butter on that toast.
Mm-hmm. How long does it take you to put together an episode?
Oh boy. Longer than I'm, longer than I'm comfortable saying because I'm just such a neophyte of it. It's like baby's first video, baby's first audio editing. I've gotten better at recording. Like I can do my voiceover now in literally 1/3 of the time it used to take me. But then, cutting and trimming and silencing and adding effects and trying to get the music to come on dramatically and then just work on this. That's all agonizing.
Yeah.
I think the last one probably took me about 4 or 5 hours to put together for a 5 minutes for a 5-minute production.
Yeah.
But I was really happy with it. I had like sound effects of a murder and some animal sounds, and writing them and recording them is pretty standard. That's kind of, I've been doing that for a while. The editing stuff is where it all grinds to a halt, and I'm second guessing myself and just crawling. Maybe season 4 will be easier. We'll see.
Yeah.
Knock on wood that I'm here in 5 months.
Yeah, effects are a real bugger. I was editing on Friday, and I got about 17 minutes of audio done in about an hour and a half, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to the gym. Like,
yeah,
I need to get up and get out of here for a while.
So yeah, I've got another one dropping next episode on that podcast. We're eventually hoping when we redo the website, we're going to have all of those episodes available through Golden Goblin Press just as a free download on the Cthulhu Invictus section. But we're not there yet. That's a 2020 plan.
Okay, that's cool.
But yeah, I do enjoy doing the segment.
Nice.
And you keep thinking, I can't possibly find any more weird stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
And you just keep finding weird Roman stuff to talk about. You don't have to dig too far into Roman history to find really weird, kooky stuff.
And I'm assuming most of the segments have their basis on actual history, right? Whether or not the thing occurred the way it did, like giant man-eating ants, obviously, but like the stories that were reported, right? So you get to learn a little bit about.
Well, it's a history segment. Every single thing I talk about in Glimpses into the Empire is not me being a creative writer. It's me creatively giving you information that has been recorded historically through legends or historical sources. Herodotus made most of this stuff up for this season. I'm just repeating what he said. The ghost story one in Athens, that's on a letter that Cicero wrote to one of his friends. So no, I've never made up anything for Glimpses in the Empire.
Nice.
That's why I keep thinking, I'm going to run out. Not happening anytime soon. So yeah, we've got Ides of Octobernomicon. So a whole bunch of new Cthulhu Invictus monsters. Some were created for adventures that are not published yet. Some are brand new, written up just for this. So that'll be fun.
Cool. And we got another question from Max. There plans past Britannica book and any farther plans out?
We are starting to put the pot on to boil our next regional 1920s collection, Tales of the Pacific. We've got authors who've written for it. We've got authors who are writing for it. We've got a cover. So it's looking like, if all goes well, that will be a late 2020 Kickstarter. With our early 2020 Kickstarter, and by early, I mean, March, probably March, will be Britannia and Beyond. We're expecting that manuscript back from Stuart Boone in December. Cool. And what's great about that is I didn't have to write it. And and the best person to write it is writing it. I mean, he's Annie Award winner. He lives in that part of the world. He's written in that part of the world. So, definitely he was on the top of my wish list for that project, and he sat down for the chair, which I'm just thrilled. Few setbacks. It's gotten kicked back a couple of times. It's a little later than we'd like, but we keep busy.
Okay,
it'll,
cool.
it'll happen when it happens, and it looks like it's happening soon.
Nice. I remember when he was on the MU podcast talking about it, saying that you guys were talking about putting things together and that he was going to be working on the book. So that's cool.
Yeah, his life got really busy.
Yeah. Do you have any other Kickstarters planned for next year? Oh, you said the 1920s collection.
Yeah, the Secrets of the Secrets. Let me stop saying that. Tales of the Pacific and Britannia and Beyond are the ones we are most planning to do.
Cool.
Other things may crop up. There's lots of little things we could do that I would love to do. Things that are mostly written that we could turn around pretty quickly. There's two of my older scenarios that I've hinted at as possibly being parts of other Kickstarters that didn't. So Mystery of April Snow and A Haunting in Kingsport, which people were really upset that we didn't get to for the Cold Warning book. That's still floating in the ether. There's a massive campaign that we toy about doing, and we'd say, hey, who's available? And everybody says no. And then we put it off for another 3 months. And, but, there'll always be something as long as we're standing as a company, we'll always be working on something and have a few projects in mind and coming down the pipe.
Sure. And then Max was asking, and I answered in the chat, as far as, the Ninth Legion for your glimpses into the Empire. Any chance that we'll see something about that?
No.
Okay.
And I will tell you why. Because nobody really knows what happened.
Fair.
It's hard for me to keep this as a historical piece and not fall into conjecture when the history itself is conjecture.
Right.
I would love to do something about the fire that destroyed the Great Library of Alexander, but guess what? No two ancient historians can agree when that fire happened, who started it, what year. And when I say differences in opinion, it's like hundreds of years. Literally,
Right.
it's like not even decades. It's like different centuries. So they think, well, maybe it was several fires. And I'm like, I can't write about that. It's too all over the place.
Right.
So yeah, I've got to be careful that I can back it up historically. And it's got to be kooky. It's got to have a kind of Cthulhu magic mystery feel to it. I don't want to go too heavy and just make it a history segment, because it's a fan segment on a horror gaming podcast.
Sure.
So it has to have kind of like a horror fantasy aspect to the history. And it's got to be something that I think people can make gameable. So, I'm not going to get too heavy and talk about all the people Nero killed and why. It's just, you want to keep it fun, to keep it gameable. So,
Sure.
We'll talk about the general that had a white deer follow him around that he said was his conduit to the goddess Diana, who was giving him information about troop movements, which is actually in our upcoming episode.
Nice.
If you think I'm making this stuff up, I am not. It is all this kooky Roman stuff is out there. I'm just bringing it forward.
Yeah. Well, it made sense at the time, right? I mean, it's a different, it's a different time. It's a different, different mindset. So stuff like that makes sense, in the moment that you're in. It sounds goofy now, but
I have to say that I'm just kind of realizing that one of the reasons I probably like Cthulhu Invictus so much is that the Romans were an incredibly superstitious people. I mean, they were advanced. They had good, they had good roads and engineering and, cement that could dry in water and, a huge central government that ran effectively, more or less, for hundreds of years. But again, they had state sanctioned magical rituals that needed to be conducted, or the whole empire was going to, incur the wrath of the gods. And, there was laws on the books about witchcraft and cursing people. Everybody wore magical amulets and talismans to protect them. So these were an extremely superstitious people. And as a Hispanic, I can sympathize with the level of superstition behind their very modern mindset. They're a modern cosmopolitan people, but you better have an amber amulet before you go to this dinner party or someone's going to poison you. They believed it. And, and even if they say they didn't believe it, they still wore the amber amulet. They may have paid lip service, but they made sure they paid lip service.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if there's some kind of parallel to the cosmicism of Lovecraft that, that sort of, going through those, jumping through hoops and having all these magical amulets and all this stuff, and of not sort of mattering in a cosmic sense. I wonder if that was kind of the mindset behind it. You know what I mean? If some of that sort of crept into that I can't think of the word that I want. You know what I'm trying to say, right?
No. Unfortunately, I'm trying to get what you're trying to say, but no.
Just cut this out in post.
Well, again, it's I'm trying to figure out if you mean the whole good versus evil cosmic aspect, but Romans didn't have that, and neither does the mythos. In a way, Roman gods were uncaring, unfeeling, selfish, petty. And I think mythos deities are even less concerned,
Yeah. Because I guess the Roman interpretation of the gods was more, I guess, more personal in that regard, because they were their motivations were very human-like, I guess.
Yeah, they were all jerks.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Well, I'll strike that whole thing then. I was going somewhere and it didn't quite connect.
It's not all gold. I get you.
Shit. Maybe I'll just leave that in. Crap.
So yeah, I've got this going on, and then the con in November, and then I like to shutter things down in December if I can. I usually don't. I always say that, and I still keep writing and I still keep working. I just don't do it as intensively as I usually do. But yeah, I'm looking forward to, this Kickstarter ending as successfully as I can make it, doing my last con, which I do enjoy. It's a very fun con for me. Running to Cthulhu Invictus that I haven't run at cons before, so it'll be fun. And by then we'll have the final edited, pre-gen characters, so it'll be all shiny and not have the spelling errors of the ones I've been using for all these years. And then, just easing in to write whatever new scenarios I have to write for this one, and moving forward, end of year, I'll be the first person to read Britannia and Beyond.
Ah, nice. There you go.
Eat your heart out, everyone. But as a fan, I'm looking forward to seeing what Stuart is doing with that.
Right.
And we'll see if Stuart has anything to say about the missing Ninth Legion.
There you go. Did you ran Cthulhu Invictus at Necronomicon, but you also ran a scenario from Inner Darkness as well, right?
Yes, I ran my scenario, A Family Way, which was a private game for high-level backers. I think the best comment I got was, I know you said this was going to be a very dark scenario, but don't take this the wrong way. I feel like I need a shower after this.
Yeah.
It's a very dark scenario. It's dark because the issues it deals with are real and dark. Another comment was, this is a horror scenario before you even add any of the mythos to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's definitely the darkest thing I've ever written, or tied for the darkest thing. I've got one scenario where everyone's a Japanese soldier on an island garrison in 1945, with the Americans about to land. That one's pretty dark too, but
yeah, I think we talked about that one.
Neither
before.
here nor there. So that one went really well. They did not succeed. It was not quite a TPK. It was one of those technical TPKs where there were enough dead and critically injured that they decided to go to the hospital instead of going to the ending. Instead of the ending, and they were fine with that. They had a very brutal, bloody, sudden, unexpected ending. All open dice rolls, no punches pulled. It's Necronomicon,
right?
So it was all open dice rolls, and when those 03s come out, when those 98s come out on sanity rolls, and the whole thing just goes,
pear shape real fast.
Yeah, it went pear shape real fast. You had the best armed person fail their sand check and pass out.
Oh, jeez.
The one person with the long gun failed the sand check and passed out. And by the time they came through, they came to, the scenario was over.
Yeah.
But again, everybody was like, no, it's Call of Cthulhu. We got slaughtered, and there you go. So brutal, absolutely brutal game from the get-go, but a great game, a really great game. And I ran the Cthulhu one, my Dark Ages Paris one, and that again seems silly until you're playing a cat in Paris during a witch hysteria, and you just see people within 5 minutes, they push all their chips in, and they get completely emotionally invested, and I'm completely emotionally invested. And it's ridiculous. It's like you're playing cats, but for some reason, the Lord knows why, it works so well.
Well, I think a lot of us are cat people, right? I mean,
a lot of us are cat people, yes.
Or animal people by extension too, right? I mean, Max has got that. So,
best line for that game was, they were overhearing something a human said, and one of the cats said, well, what do you think about what she said? And he said, well, whatever, we're going to do whatever cats usually do when a human says something. We're going to ignore her.
You're right. Exactly.
Which was the most cat thing that was said at the table. And I was like, oh, I wish you could give bonus experience points to Call of Cthulhu, because that was just great.
And then he pushed all his dice off the table.
Yeah. And we had one ridiculous argument that they were doing their French cats in a French accent.
Oh,
and I said, you wouldn't have a French accent. You would just be speaking French. And they said, we're cats. So technically, we shouldn't be speaking at all. And I said, touche. and we moved on. But it was just like levels of ridiculous being pulled back as we're having this conversation that seemed really, really important at the moment.
You're right.
But absolutely just they're as fun as a barrel of monkeys. I cannot wait for this book to come out. We got the first proofreaders comment back the other day, and they really enjoyed it. So I'm really looking forward to getting this out.
Cool. That's cool. Are you watching? Did you watch either last season of The Terror, or are you caught up on this season?
Oh my goodness. We just caught up on 2 episodes on DVR before the show. So we are now caught up. I am really enjoying it. I love Japanese ghost folklore.
Me too.
And Asian, forget Asian, because Chinese, they have a great ghost mythology.
Scary as shit.
Oh my goodness. It is frightening in a way that Western ghosts just can't hold a candle to.
Yeah. And I feel kind of bad to say that I'm enjoying it, because I'm enjoying it as a piece of fiction. But when it's based on, historically what's happened, it's like, oh, I like this, but I kind of like,
it's an ugly part of our history.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, it's a part of our history that's being repeated right now. So
yeah. And they get you right away, right? Because like, because you could sit back in 2019 and go, well, like I kind of understand of the, this and that and whatever, and we were at war and what, and it's easy to make that justification. But when you start the series and they're, on Terminal Island or whatever, and they're going about their business, and you get invested in the characters, and like, I like this guy, it's pretty cool, blah blah blah. And boom, now you're in a, in a tournament.
You're in a camp, yeah.
Wow, fuck, that's shit.
And I'm sure that living through it was exactly as shocking,
or
for
sure.
Worse, because I mean, again, it was out of in the show. It seems overreacted, out of nowhere, immediate. And I'm sure in for that group, it must have felt that way as well. I love that George Takei is heavily involved, and that he has a personal history in these camps.
Yeah,
so you're getting an accurate portrayal. You're not getting third-hand history. You're getting someone's living experience, which again, I'm so happy it's being captured in this medium, almost as a record, a testimony of what his experience in these camps was.
Yeah, and they seem to be doing it justice, and that they're not skirting it, and they're showing it for what it is, which you have to appreciate as someone who, I don't want to say studies history necessarily, but enjoys history. That sounds stupid too, but you know what I mean.
No, yeah, I'm a definite student of history.
There you go. The wordsmith comes through.
Well, I write. it's
a lot.
It's kind of one of the only things I'm good at, but there you go. Because we know it's not singing. and yeah, for those of you who've seen me on Cthulhu Karaoke on Facebook, I do have a good time. But yeah, I'm not going on American Idol anytime soon.
I don't know if I included a link to the Facebook. So yeah, if you guys want to see the Cthulhu Karaoke, you got to hit up Oscar on Facebook. There's bunches of video posts.
Yeah, there's me doing Roxanne in Sting's voice.
Nice.
Which is not mine. It's kind of like I have a shot, and I just try and hit that octave as long as I can. It's more like Eddie Murphy in trading in 48 hours doing Roxanne. But I think the ones that were recorded are me doing Roxanne and Come Sail Away. Which again, and of course I did Sweet Caroline. I've got to go for the cheesy karaoke classics.
Yeah. And then that's become like a staple now the last couple of years.
It started as in the very first new one, when I challenged Mike Mason and Chaosium to a karaoke battle. And it's happened every Necronomicon ever. And this time it was just, I wasn't at the last Necronomicon, but they did karaoke. And this time it was literally almost the entire karaoke bar were Necronomicon people, and just had an absolute blast. Some people had no business in that bar. I'm not great, but when I pick a song, I kind of sort of know the lyrics and at least the flow and rhythm of the melody. There are people who are like, they just at random, and I'm like, oh my God. But yeah, just absolute. I will not miss it. I rescheduled a game so I could do karaoke.
Nice.
I ran an 8 a.m. game or a 9 a.m. game just so I would be free in the evening for karaoke.
Right. I'll have to try to catch it next time. I think Pete's trivia was counter to that, and Todd was doing his drunk Lovecraft history thing, so I was kind of committed.
I heard already. there was that's the worst thing about Necronomicon. There's 5 really cool things that you want to do, and they're all almost always at the same time. There's if you really want to do something, you look on, there's something else you really want to do at exactly the same time. So you really have to pick and choose.
Yep. Yeah, I never schedule any gaming because it's such a huge commitment. Even if you do just one game, you're looking at somewhere between 4 and 6 hours. Yeah. And it's just such a huge chunk of time. I'm like, I can't do it. There's so many other things to do.
Yeah, well, if you're promoting a book,
well, yeah.
You kind of have to. You kind of sort of have to run a game.
Right.
I go to work. I mean, I'm working at Necronomicon.
Yeah.
No, it is a vacation. Let me not say I go to work, because boy, I ate some nachos. I had a few tropical drinks. And I did a lot of karaoke. So I hung out with my friends and did all the great vacation stuff. But I, did a lot of programming as well. I ran 12 hours of games in 3 days.
Yeah. Well, it's not as much of a hustle as, like Origins or Gen Con or something like that. But, still there's some level of like, hey, I got to promote and do some work and press the flash and because there are people that are coming from outside the industry that are coming as strictly as fans of the films or the RPGs or whatever. So, you kind of have to give those people time to be able to interact and say, hey, I really like when you did this, or maybe I didn't like that, or maybe your book was late and I was trying to whatever,
But as a fan, I totally get it. Like if I went as just a fan, I would pick one of my favorite authors. I would look if they were running a game, and I would be with my hand over the keyboard waiting for registration. And I'm like, oh, F yeah, I am playing Delta Green with Scott Glancy,
right.
Or, I'm whatever, there's lots of authors that I would love to play their material with them, especially if it's unpublished, if it's not yet out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as a Cthulhu nerd, I would love to do that. And then I'm on the other side of that mirror. I am the guy that I had the Into the Darkness crew buy out my entire cat game, and and that's what they do. They play Call of Cthulhu all the time, and they were like, "Oh, we're playing with you," and I'm like, "Okay, no pressure." And really, it was no pressure. They play Call of Cthulhu at the level that I write it and run it. We're all okay. None of us are screwing around. All of us have made this a priority in our life. So let's get to it. And then it was amazing,
Yeah. Well, you have to when it eats up that much time while you're there. Like you got to be in it to win it, so to speak.
Right.
Because it's such a huge commitment. That's sort of like the weird thing for me. Like when we go, because I know all you guys, I wouldn't register for games with you guys because if someone's coming in from somewhere and this is their opportunity to try to get into a game, for me, it feels unfair for me to do that because, like, you know, it might have been the first thing you said to me, other than like, "Hey, I've been trying to make my way across the room to come and see you. When are we playing again?"
Right.
You know, so it's like, I'm not gonna like schedule a game because
you and I can go on the computer and schedule a game, whether it's recorded or not, and just screw around.
Yeah,
because we're both open to that.
Yeah. Which is cool, you know. So like I feel like it's kind of a responsibility to like not schedule games, you know.
Right.
I don't know. It's just a weird. It puts you in a weird place having a podcast to be like, well, maybe I shouldn't do that.
Well, it's considerate to the people who are just fans, who aren't industry, who will never, let me not say never, because if a fan stalked me on the internet and said, "Hey, we'd really love to have a game with you," and I'm like, "Well, this is my address. Order me some Domino's." Pretty much for the price of a Domino's pizza, I might be willing to run a game for you and your friends online. and it's not because I like Domino's pizza that much. I like playing, but I'm not a slut. I'm a whore. I don't give it away. I need to be paid. Sometimes it's a Domino's pizza. Let me not say that there's no way a fan would ever, but yeah, at a con, that's, you get into your registration, I'm going to give you the best possible game I can give you at the highest possible level the table will support.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you sit down and there's a guy with his 14-year-old daughter who's never played Call of Cthulhu before, and you're like, okay, maybe we're gonna ratchet back just a little bit. We're gonna be a little less graphic in our description of the dead, murdered children in the cornfield. Not by much, because it's still Call of Cthulhu, but yeah, we're gonna soften this a bit. But when you go to a con, a gaming con, like for that, they don't do anime and they don't do movie previews and they don't have a talent show. When it's a, dice on the table, Cheetos, Mountain Dew, gaming con, like Carnage, or these people are there to game, and you're like, okay, we're pulling out all the stops and we're just gonna go crazy with this. Again, Necronomicon has everything, but the gamers there are at that level. They are like, we are here, we have 10 other things we could be doing, but we're doing this. And when players honor you with that level of commitment, you better damn well be rested, sober, shaved, with deodorant, with, pre-gens ready to go to give them the best possible game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially when they're committed to coming at 8 or 9 in the morning. That's a huge.
That's why I run at 8 or 9 in the morning. I almost only run morning games. One, I'm a morning person, as anyone who is on Facebook will see. A lot of my posts are like 5 a.m. So I've laid down 1,200 words already, and like, what the hell is wrong with me? No, I'm a morning person, and anyone crazy enough to game with me at that early in the morning is the kind of players I want. And that tradition started for me when I was a player, and I signed up for a Sunday morning 2nd edition D&D game set in the Dragonlance universe. And the keeper showed up, and we were all there Sunday morning, and we just rocked out this material that was just absolutely bonkers, crazy, stupid. We were all Kender, and and all of the challenges were based on Grimm's fairy tales.
Cool.
And it was just such an amazing experience, and everyone who showed up was there to play.
Right.
And the guy running the game was there to play. So I remember it with great fondness for that reason and one other. The one other was it was the first time I drank coffee.
Oh, jeez.
Because it was Sunday morning and the keeper, who was older than me, I was a teenager, got a couple of pots of black coffee for the table. So it was the first time I drank coffee. And it was the first time, the first Sunday morning game that I was really with players at a extremely high level. And I never forgot that. And often if you play with me on a Sunday morning, I will try and have coffee for the table. I had coffee for the table at Necronomicon on Sunday, and for the con staff, because those people don't get thanked enough. The people who organized the gaming at Necronomicon were just amazing.
Yeah, Jessie and her husband.
Oh, just absolutely.
Rob, I think.
Yeah, top notch. I'm really hoping they'll be back next year. Yeah, well, in 2021.
Yeah, they've been doing it for the last couple of years for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I've had mixed results in con gaming, and it's not like we play like a real specific RP heavy kind of thing. No matter what we're playing here, I mean, we go whole sessions and don't roll dice. So like, my expectation is different. So like I've had mixed bag results. But I'm going to a con here beginning of October, I think it is. It's RinCon, is our local gaming convention here in Tucson. It's really great con. It's small. It's 500, 600, 700 people, something like that. And I'm signed up on Sunday, the last day, for a 6-hour alien RPG adventure. I guess it's probably the one in the book. I haven't read through it yet, so I'm like, cool, I want to give this game a go because I'm really excited to give it. I'm like, it's 6 hours and it runs past the convention ends at 3 or 4.
I hate to say it, but if you were telling me the story after it happened, I'm almost expecting you to end the story by, and the fucker didn't show.
No, that's Max's story. He signed up
because he just said that, and you're like so pumped for this Sunday game, and you're like, oh my god! It's like, I really hope this guy shows up now. I hope I didn't jinx you. But yeah, that's the worst. That's the worst part about Sunday gaming, is that if it's a drinking con, there's an odd chance that someone will have been overserved and not make their Sunday morning game.
I would say that it is, but it's not like at Necro. Like, I spent more money on food and alcohol at Necronomicon than anything. And I don't feel like RinCon is that same way. I mean, I'm sure people drink. I mean, it's whatever, but not like we all go out together, where RinCon is like, we're here to game and we're just here gaming,
Right.
As opposed to,
it depends on a lot of stuff. If it's if it's in a hotel with a hotel bar, there's going to be less drinking because those drinks are way expensive. If it's in a hotel where there's a lot of room parties and open tables, well, that's a whole nother matter. If you're at a con where you see people rolling coolers in with their luggage, you might be at a drinking con. I'm looking at you, Total Con. It's not a bad thing. It's just a thing.
Right. Yeah, because it's close enough for me to drive, so I don't stay up in Tucson because I don't want to spend the extra money.
Oh, then you're not getting tanked because you're driving back and forth.
Yeah, it's a 50-minute drive back and forth, and I've been there playing games up till midnight, and I'm like, fuck, I gotta drive home now.
That's rough. That's
rough.
Back
at 9 in the morning for a game.
Oh, what is that, like 5 hours sleep?
You by the time I get home, get a shower. Yeah, it's rough.
that is rough.
I'll be doing it.
It's not sleep in your car rough, and it may not be $125 room rough. It may be worth it.
Yeah. Well, I wonder sometimes. I'm like, should I just book the room and stay? Because I don't know if it was last year or the year before, John Wick, he comes up because he's here in Arizona, or comes down, I should say. And he's like, hey, I'm doing this wrestling RPG tonight at about midnight. Are you going to stay? And I'm like,
it's starting at midnight.
Fuck, John. I mean, like, I kind of want to stay, but like, I don't want to be up for 48 hours. You know?
Right. That's ending at like 3:30, 4 in the morning.
Yeah, I didn't stay, and I felt kind of bad, like I should have stayed, but I'm like, fuck,
dude, we're not young guys anymore. That would have been tough in our early 30s.
Well, on my way home from Necro, right? So we went out. We were out late every night, but I stayed through till Monday. Well, Sunday night we went to the Dunwich Horror Picture Show, and then
I heard that was fun.
It was okay. I mean, I did it. It's whatever. I mean,
okay. Okay. I spoke to someone who enjoyed it a lot more than you. But
yeah, it was an experience. I'm glad I went and did it. But
would you do it next year? Probably not.
Wouldn't do it, no. But it was cool on the way, right? So I already lost my train of thought. So we're on the way out, right? So speaking of the thing about you and Pete, and you guys hadn't met. Well, we're walking with Pete, and I'm walking with Scott Dorward, and we're talking, and we stop at a light to cross, and he turns around and he's like, "Hey, Peter, you sent me some stuff on, so I was researching blah blah blah." And he's like, "Oh yeah," like they'd never met in person because he's in England. I'm like, "How is that gonna happen?" And I'm like, wow, "This is just like the best con ever."
I know it is.
So it was cool on a variety of reasons, but the show itself was whatever. So we get back, and I went back to Pete's room with him and Sal. So I was there for a little bit, and then Vince was waiting for me over at the hotel bar. So we went over there, and we were up at the bar drinking for a little bit. So finally make it back up to the room, and it's like, I don't know, like 2:00, and I'm like, shit, I gotta get a shower. So like we're bullshitting and whatever. Now it's like 3:00. I'm like, fuck, dude, we got to get up in 2 hours to get me to the airport, or an hour and a half or whatever. And I was like, fuck, I'm just gonna stay up, I guess. So we kind of crashed for like a half an hour, kind of like took a wicked cat nap. I was up for like 38, 39 hours because then I got home almost before I left because of the time change. Mm-hmm. And then I just stayed up until that night. I was like, well, fuck, what am I going to do now?
That is, well, at least you weren't jet lagged because you forced yourself to stay up.
Yeah, it was rough. I was really tired come Monday night.
Yeah, the con I'm going to this in November, early November. It's the same way. It's like I'm running a Sunday morning, and that's like a 4.5 hour ride back. And last year, I convinced my wife to take Monday off. So we actually drove halfway back and found a little hole in the wall romantic place near somewhere that had fondue.
Oh, there you go.
In the Catskills in upstate New York. So we just drove halfway there, pulled in, had a romantic evening together, woke up Monday morning, farted around, had breakfast, whatever, leisurely drive back, pulled in, middle of the day Monday, like no Sunday night traffic, fighting your way back into Manhattan, into New York, in urban New York. So sometimes like that extending the day, it's just so much better. But we couldn't really afford to do that time-wise and money-wise, but sometimes it's just better not to have to travel all the way back on the Sunday after the con.
Well, at Necro, it's almost impossible, right? So for me to come back, there's one flight out of TF Green, and it's at like 6 a.m. So had I left on Sunday, I would have missed
everything. You would have been at the con on Sunday.
So I left on Monday morning, and then I took Tuesday off from work because I'm like, man, this is going to be a shit show coming home.
Yeah, we drove home that Sunday that Sunday. I think by 1:00 we were in the car coming home, and thank God for my wife, because had I tried to drive the whole way, we'd be dead. Literally, I got about an hour, and I started to feel very unsafe, and she took over, and I was like, oh, thank God, because I was exhausted. I was really dead on my feet by then.
It's a really, really busy 5 days. I know a lot of people came in on Wednesday. You're packing a lot of stuff to do, and it's a lot of FaceTime, right? Like I think a lot of us are, a little bit more on the introverted side. So like you're continually just, pressing the flash and hanging out with, which is great. I mean, I love it. I wouldn't change it for anything, but it's a lot of energy.
It's funny how many people I meet who claim to be introverts. And I talk to them fine all the time. It's like I would have never classified. I don't know how you are with most other people, but you've always been friendly and chatty pretty much since the day. Well, I was drunk when I met you, so maybe that took and you quickly joined me. So maybe that helped. That the foundation of our relationship is based in alcohol. Maybe we just got off on the right foot.
Right.
But no, I wouldn't peg you as it. Well, that I wouldn't peg. I don't have that. I don't get that from you. But again, then maybe I'm just blessed.
With people that I'm close to, you can't get me to shut up. But you put me in a room and I don't know anybody, then for, like even Wednesday night at Blake's, was hanging out with Vince and we had come from the airport. We dropped our shit at the hotel and, went over to meet everybody out there. And then he left and I was talking to Chad and Chad kind of wandered away. And then I was just sort of like, well, I'm here with everybody. And then Max came over and Max started talking to me and got me like, in with another group and then, sort of picked it up and, and then the rest of the night was fine. But yeah, like kind of left on my own. I'm kind of like over here a little bit.
Well, at Necronomicon, you're never really, I mean, literally we take over that beautiful little city, at least those 5 square blocks near the where the con's taking place. You can't throw a dead cat without a black T-shirt with an Eldritch Horror on it.
Yep. No, absolutely. And it's great. I mean, it's the greatest. I so look forward to that con. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, I was sorry that I missed the last one. I wasn't sorry when I was missing it because I was so just burned out.
Yeah.
But it was nice to get back and really have a positive convention. I had missed it. So, and it's weird. You miss one, you're not going for 4 years. I mean, that's the weirdest thing about missing one Necronomicon because you're not getting another chance next year. So if you missed one, you're not going for 4 years. So that's pretty weird. It's
rough.
Yeah.
I schedule vacations around that when I know that's coming up. I'm like, well, this is my big thing for the year then,
Right.
Because it's not cheap.
Oh, no, it's not cheap.
And we stayed at the Omni this year. Oh, man, especially with the extra day, that was rough.
Yeah, but it's unavoidable for someone like me repping a small company that we really, our life's blood is our fans. We live or die off our Kickstarters. So if you're not promoting at Necronomicon, it's tough. I mean, we had a tough year after we didn't go. I mean, everybody was like, "Oh, is Oscar on drugs or getting a divorce?" I'm like, "No," because it's like you don't show up for Necronomicon. It's like, oh my God, it's like people kept calling me and saying, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just home." Like, why aren't you at Necronomicon? I'm like, because I've been writing for 8 months and I'm literally. I just want to cry every day. It's not, what goes into winning an Emmy is not pretty all the time.
You're right.
And I was really, and it was like, that was my heart of darkness, summer of getting that book ready. So yeah, I was not missing that going. It's like, I was so stressed out of like trying to finish this book and Necronomicon's coming. And I had to cut Necronomicon out. But I did miss it. Like I really looked forward this year to going and getting back in touch. And it's grown so much more. Just in the 4 years I hadn't been there. City still seemed the same.
Yeah, I think a couple of places. Well, McCormick and Schmidt's had closed, and I think one of the other bars.
Better restaurants. Sure. I think. And the hotel no longer had a bar.
Yeah.
But it did have the most overpriced coffee shop I'd ever been to.
Yeah, I didn't. Vince got his coffee there one morning, but we went to Dunkin'. I mean, you
Yeah,
could get
it's
two
$2 away.
sandwiches, two coffees for $8-9 for like a cup of coffee. If you get like this and that and soy whatever, like cost you $10 just for one cup.
Right. I think I had 2 boiled eggs, a croissant, and a cup of coffee. It was like $11.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
I'm like, it's 2 boiled eggs and a croissant.
Yeah.
I can get like the lumberjack platter at Denny's.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah, there's not a lot of good breakfast options. I know that the kitchen, I guess, I don't know if it's a newer place. I know Ken was talking about it. Said the food was really good, but man, it was like a 15-minute walk.
Yeah, that's not happening. Not on my knees.
Yeah, well, and it's early too, right? Like the only early panel that I recorded was yours. There was a couple other things going on that I wanted to record, and I'm like, I'm not fucking getting up at 7:00 to go record a panel. Forget it.
Well, I appreciate that you came and did mine.
I think that was after the Tiki Bar, right? I think that was the morning after.
Yeah, we were both. Well, I got up extra early and I went to have dinner, have breakfast in that hotel.
Yeah.
Which was a good move, but I was well caffeinated for that period.
Yeah, we brought coffee. We stopped for coffee. It was.
Oh yeah, that con is run on caffeine.
For sure.
Caffeine and eldritch horror.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, speaking of coffee, this is a nice segue.
If you and I are talking, eventually we're going to get to coffee.
Exactly. We do have a sponsor for those of you who may not know. I don't know who that could be, but we do have a sponsor. It's Birds of a Feather Coffee. There's a link in the show notes for the legendary brew. You could also go to tinyurl.com/legendary brew. It's a medium roast. It's roasted by my good friend Neil. He has his own coffee roasting business on the side. It's fantastic. It's what I keep in my house. I don't drink. Well, if I go out, like you have what you have. But if I go to a friend's house, I go to my parents' house, I bring my coffee press, I bring my own little coffee and shit like on Christmas and whatever. Like, it's just what I have here. It's really, really good. I wouldn't say that it was if it wasn't. It'd be one of those things where you're like, yeah, you're roasting coffee. That's cool. Good for you. That's good luck. But no, it's awesome. I order, pretty regularly.
I've had it. It is good.
Yep.
And I don't even know this guy.
If you use code LEGENDS10, you're going to get 10% off your order. Shipping is always free. And you can also use that code and the free shipping on the other Birds of a Feather Coffee flagship things. He's got the Night Owl blend, which is a dark roast. The Hummingbird, I think, is the decaf. And the Morning Lark is a light roast. So please check those out. Use the code. You get the free shipping. It's almost like he's giving the coffee away. And it's crazy because it's super good. So please check that out. I think we kicked this pig to death, right?
I think so.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on. It's always a pleasure to have you on. It was so great to see you at Necronomicon this year. I always get a chance. I love, getting the opportunity to just like hang out in person because this is cool, but it's not the same thing as being able to hoist a glass and give you a hug.
Of course.
Oh, well.
All right. Well, enjoy your upcoming con.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you. And we'll slide into We'll slide out of 2019.
Yep, it's rapidly approaching.
Yes. The sweet kiss of autumn is upon us.
Well, it's still 90-something degrees here.
So screw you. It's always going to be hot where you are.
I tell you what, we get more fall weather-wise here once the monsoons break and the temperature starts to come down a little bit, because 80 with no humidity is a fall day. Really, you get a little bit of a breeze. It's gorgeous,
dude.
So
I'm going to be in Vermont in a few weeks. That's fall.
Well, yeah. Absolutely. All right. Well, good luck on the Kickstarter. We're already funded, so that's awesome. So hopefully you really kill this thing and hit all those stretch goals and give people all kinds of awesome goodness.
Well, it's up to them. Please share it on social media.
Absolutely. Max is already back. So anybody else who's listening, please go and check it out. See if it's something that you're interested in. The scenarios are a little less deadly by design. I guess you could always ramp that up in your home play if you like. But
Well, they're designed for adolescent investigators.
oh, it's like Scooby-Doo.
If you want to roll up a dog for the kids, roll up a dog for the kids.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you, sir. Like I said, it's great to see you.
You're very welcome.
We'll catch you all next time.
Later.